All right, you were back for day 3. Did you notice any difference between the 12 and 13-hour fast? Was it just a little bit harder? Let's talk through some common challenges you may be facing today. So from what I've seen with my clients and in my own experience, the first 2 weeks of going on an intermittent fasting regimen is the hardest. There's no doubt about it, it's going to be a challenge. Some days are harder than others, but after 2 weeks, your body seems to readjust, get used to its new schedule, and it tends to get easier and easier from there. I noticed that during my first week, I had a lot of sugar cravings in the afternoon. So like around 4 p.m., I was usually starting my fast by 5 or 6 p.m. so I could get up early and eat before my workout. So what I actually just gave into those cravings. I allowed myself to eat something sweet, but I made sure that I had protein and healthy fat to pair with it so I wouldn't get subsequent sugar cravings. So an example of this would be something like a full-fat Greek yogurt. Siggi's is a brand that I really like, the chocolate kind, and I put mini chocolate chips in there and then mixed in some berries. And that pretty much satisfied me. However, I did notice myself craving candy like Sour Patch Kids and things that I normally don't crave. And some of that may have been because it was Easter and we had some of that in the house, and so maybe I was just craving because of that. There's also a little bit of that Last Supper mentality that may happen, meaning you know your fast has to start by 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., so you're like, I'm not gonna be able to eat for the rest of the night. What can I find in my pantry to eat right now to make sure that I'm not going to be hungry later? Try to avoid that and just, again, listen into your body's cues. If you're not hungry, if you're feeling satisfied, don't eat more. Use this as an opportunity to learn your body's cues. You may also see a difference in mood. I've noticed some clients reporting feeling agitated in the evenings. I know I experienced some of this a bit in the evenings as well at the beginning, and I think that was just because I was following some rule and I had to do it, and I was like, I can't have something now. And I think maybe that's what it was. I don't know any physiological reason why my mood was different, but I want you to know that implementing anything like this is you're going to have times of discomfort. I want you to challenge yourself. That's the whole reason you're doing this course. Challenge yourself and making sure you're putting the effort in the right places to maximize your results. If you're putting in effort, I want you to get the results out of it. I want you to challenge yourself because that's the only way you're going to see change. Now let's talk more about coffee and tea. You probably knew this was coming, right? There's a lot of debate about coffee and tea and whether it fits within a fasting regimen or not. I have challenged you in this course to not include coffee or tea during your fast, and here is why. And so if you see me reading, it's just because I want to make sure I'm getting you the information and not stumbling over my words. Caffeine later in the day can make it harder to sleep. Research has shown that even 1 or 2 cups of coffee in the morning can alter the quality of your sleep at night. Studies in healthy adult males found that consuming 200 milligrams of coffee at 7 a.m., if they consumed that 200 milligrams at 7 a.m., there was still caffeine in their systems at 11 o'clock p.m. Caffeine has also been shown to suppress melatonin secretion. Melatonin is a hormone that's produced in the pineal gland in your brain that helps you to fall asleep. Light also suppresses melatonin production, so it's low during the day. Researchers suggest that caffeine also suppresses melatonin production. However, this seems to be just an immediate and temporary effect. So it's not that if you're drinking caffeine regularly, you're going to have less melatonin than someone else, but you're going to have less melatonin while you are consuming that caffeine. So I often hear my clients say things to me like, caffeine doesn't affect me. I can go to sleep right after drinking a triple espresso. It doesn't have any effect. I can pass out right after. However, it is rare to find someone that coffee has absolutely no effect on. It's likely that people who claim that they can sleep even after a cup of coffee would actually get better sleep if they didn't consume it before bed. Caffeine is absorbed in the stomach and it enters into the bloodstream. From there, it has direct effects on the brain, kidneys, liver, and heart. The liver metabolizes most of the caffeine that enters the bloodstream. Caffeine has effects on the cardiovascular system, including heart rate and blood pressure. The effect of caffeine on metabolism is not completely understood right now. Although caffeine has no calories, it still has widespread effects on the brain, vital organs, and metabolism. So, if our main goal is to put our bodies in the ultimate resting state, in the ultimate repair state overnight by fasting, putting caffeine in that mix does not align with that goal. All of that being said, if you cannot live without having your black coffee before your fasting window is open, that is not a reason to not do this. You will not lose all the benefits from intermittent fasting. I don't want you to quit if that's something that you can't overcome right now. Okay, on to the next thing. Let's talk a little bit more in depth about other types of fasting. Alternate day fasting. That is the one where you fast for 24 hours, nothing except water, and then you eat normally the next day. I've seen quite a few different types of alternate day fasting, some of which where it's only water and others where it's like 40% or less of your normal caloric intake on those off and on days. So I'm going to use a study in JAMA to explain this type of fasting further. Researchers divided 100 obese study volunteers into 3 groups. One that followed an alternate day fasting plan, which meant that on the fasting day, they'd only eat 25% of their caloric needs, and on the non-fasting day, they'd eat 125% of their caloric needs, meaning that it was an alternate day fast because one day they were eating way less than what they needed, and then the next day they were eating what they needed plus a little bit more. The second group ate 75% of their caloric needs every single day, so they never changed anything. So 75% every day, they never changed from day to day. The third group didn't change anything. They just ate as normal. They ate the way they typically did. So the two diet groups, the first and second group, received diet counseling as well, and all of the food. There was a 6-month weight loss period, followed by another 6 months of weight maintenance and observations. Both dieting groups lost 5.5% of their body weight by month 6, and had significant improvements in their blood pressure, blood sugar, insulin, and inflammatory proteins when compared to people who just had their normal diets, the third group. People in both the diet groups regained about 1.8% of the weight they lost by 1 year, so in that next 6-month period. At the end of that 1 year, there was only one difference between the two diet groups. So essentially, they had the exact same results, except that the alternate day fasting group had a significant elevation in LDL cholesterol. It was an increase of 11.5 as compared to the daily calorie restriction group. So it was a small study. There was a high dropout rate at 30%, and LDL is what they call the bad cholesterol for a whole nother course, but that's typically what's known as the bad cholesterol. It was a small study, a high dropout rate. 30% of people dropped out of the study. 12 people quit the alternate day fasting group. Almost half of them said the reason why they quit was dissatisfaction with the diet. 10 people quit the calorie restriction group, but none of them cited dissatisfaction with the diet. They said it was for personal reasons or scheduling conflicts. 8 people quit the normal group that wasn't doing anything, and they cited the same reasons as the calorie restriction group, which was scheduling or personal reasons. It's not a surprise to me that people don't like alternate day fasting. Previous studies have reported that people feel uncomfortably hungry and irritable on fasting days, and they never got used to those discomforts. Don't ask me to just not eat every other day or to eat 40% of what I'm supposed to every other day. I'm not really sure how you would expect to maintain any level of normalness as far as physical activity routine and not just feel generally blech on those days. I think there are much better forms of fasting when it comes to being sustainable for the long haul. A much more rigorous type of fast are multiple day fasts, also called extended fasts, where you only drink water for 36 hours or longer. Yep, only water. Proponents of these water-only fasts talk about cellular benefits, cellular cleansing, and regeneration, calling it your body's way of basically taking out the garbage. Dr. Jason Fung is a major proponent of doing these fasts periodically. I myself have not experimented with multiple day fasts, but I would not recommend them to anyone, again, who is underweight or malnourished, children, pregnant or breastfeeding women, or anyone who has experienced disordered eating. Since not eating for multiple days in a row just isn't something that I want to do, it's not something that works with my schedule, I don't feel as though I could be at the top of my game for my clients on a day where I'm not eating. And on weekends is when I like to go and enjoy. I don't ever have a weekend where I'm not active, I'm not doing something in the yard, we don't have a house project going on, or we're not going out with friends. So I don't want to sit at home for 3 days and not eat and just kind of do that experiment on myself. I just don't have that luxury of time and just don't want to do it right now. So I'm not saying that there's not benefits from it. I wholly believe that there could be, and there could be a benefit from doing this periodically every year, every quarter, but that's not what this course is about. This course is about changing your day-to-day life. The fasting mimicking diet, or the FMD, has tried to capitalize on these reported benefits of the alternate day fasts, or multiple day fasting, claiming that you get similar benefits from doing this fasting mimicking diet as you do if you weren't eating at all. So this diet has been popularized in the last few years, and they define it as eating 40% or less of your typical caloric intake for 5 days in a row, and then eating normally for 2 days, so essentially the weekend. There's one company that's popularized this diet, and they sell meal kits, and they come with 5 small boxes, one for each day, that includes bars, soups, shakes, drinks, etc. The daily calorie intake is usually between 770 calories and 1,100 calories per day. Again, do you want to eat your food out of a small box for 5 days out of the week? I don't. I don't think that's sustainable. Once you've done it, what's next? You're not going to eat that way forever, and once you quit, you're just going to be looking for the next solution. Time-restricted eating, which is what we've been doing for the past 2 days when we did our 12-hour fast and then our 13-hour fast, I think is the most intuitive and easy to implement of all of these fasting approaches. Back to the studies. Recent studies using time-restricted eating have reported positive effects on weight loss, glycemic control, meaning blood sugar control, and appetite regulation. By adhering to a narrower eating window, weight loss can be achieved through automatic reduction in overall caloric intake. Circadian rhythm fasting is a specific time-restricted eating pattern where you fast starting at sundown and ending at sunrise, which is often a 13 to 14-hour fast depending on where you live and the time of year. We've kind of been doing this already if you followed my advice and not started your fast any later than 9 p.m., but we will talk more about circadian rhythm fast tomorrow. For tonight, I want you to extend your fast by 1 more hour and do a 14-hour fast. You can do it. We've got this. I will see you tomorrow.